Hey guys, good morning and welcome to the homestead. So it's mid-November, early November, I don't know. I guess it's not, yeah, it's early. Don't forget to vote tomorrow. That's the key. You guys probably won't see this until tomorrow, so don't forget to vote today or yesterday, whatever day this comes out. We're doing a little bathroom project here where we're just changing some trim. Nothing serious, but like the trim was broken and missing in some places. And went to Lowe's, picked up some trim, picked up some tools and stuff. And here in Florida, I don't have a miter saw with me. So I'm like, I wonder what, Lowe's has for miter saws. So that got me down the tool aisle at Lowe's, and I stumbled across this Metabo, which those of you guys that have watched my videos know I have the 12-inch sliding compound Metabo at home that was a relatively good deal. This one popped up. This is a 10-inch compound miter saw. It was $109. I did not see what the regular price was. I'm assuming that's a sale price. I can't imagine this is always $109. So we picked it up. It's the C10 FCG S. I don't know what the S stands for. Compound miter saw. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to unbox this, show you what we got. We did pick up a blade because, as some may or may not know, generally when you get a miter saw, and I can't remember on the other Metabo what came with it, a quick read of the box didn't show anything, so we'll look it over here in a minute. But we picked up a nice 60-tooth DeWalt 10-inch blade while we were there, so we're going to set that over here on the truck, and we're going to look this box over and make sure we're not missing anything. It says left and right bevel stops, miter angle range 0 to 52 degrees, miter detent 0, 15, 22.5, 31.6, and 45. The height is 21.5 inches. The total weight's 22 pounds. It's a nice lightweight saw. 15 amp circuit. And that's kind of all it says. So you guys can see right there too. If we come around to this side, adjustable pivot fence, guide. See, it doesn't really say anything about blades, so I'm not sure. Maybe for $109 you don't get a blade. So let's open it up. So there's a bag of parts. So, clamp, dust bag. Instructions, and a few little parts. So we'll put that over here, and let's see if we can get this thing out of here. Seems to be copious amounts of cardboard, which is good. You guys can look in there if you want, but they've got it nestled in here with all these nice cardboard pieces. Kind of nice packaging, doesn't move around much. And I'm trying to remember the brand that Metabo bought. I don't know. It'll probably come to me later. But Metabo was a fairly new name in the industry for us, or for me anyways. And they purchased another existing brand, and a lot of this stuff is just rebranded from that existing brand, which was a high quality item to begin with. And we've been real happy with the one at home. Let's go ahead and get some of the parts. So the first thing I notice immediately, which is a surprise to me, is it is actually a compound miter saw. I figured it would have a singular angle, 45, 45, 52, 52, whatever, but 0. I figured the blade would always be at 90 to the fence. So the fact that it's a compound miter saw is actually pretty incredible for $100. It does have a blade on it. Let me get this thing. Let's see if I can get this thing so we get the cardboard out of there. Put it back to 0. Tighten the. Oh, that's right. So those of you that don't remember, let me spin this around. When you're standing behind the saw and you start turning this thing, you're unscrewing it. It's backwards thread. So when you're standing in front of the saw, it goes the correct way if you're thinking backwards. So if you're sort of mechanical and you're always like, lefty loosey, righty tighty, you'll get this backwards every time. And I do remember that about the one at home. So there's a lock here, over here for the to hold the thing down. Nice, decent length power cord. Not that you need a lot of power cord on one of these. And as I mentioned, blade, not much of a blade. It is well, it doesn't say how many teeth, but you can see how far apart they are, so it's not going to be very many. So that's going to be pretty good for framing. Like if you were building a house, this would be an amazing little saw to throw on some sawhorses outside for cutting studs, jacks, header pieces. Downside to a regular compound miter saw is the depth of cut. So we're going to have to get a tool. You'll notice they've got a bolt in there where that goes. We'll get a tool and take that out. But on a regular miter saw, the depth of cut is, you know, the blade doesn't move out. Sliding one, you can pull it out. You can cut a lot wider board. But I'm pretty sure you can cut a 2x6 on a 10-inch. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to probably give you guys just a quick break. We're going to get this thing dressed up and bring you back and give you our thoughts on it. Maybe we'll cut a 2x4 and yeah, show you what we think. And I think that's what we'll do. We actually have some trim boards. Let's do we'll bring you back. We'll get it all dressed up. We'll do a cut with this blade on a trim board. We'll swap the blades and we'll do another cut with a nice blade and show you what the difference in blades is. So why don't you guys hold on a minute while I get some tools and I put this thing together. I figure out what things like this does. I'm not 100% sure. So I'm going to read the directions and I'll bring you back in just a second. Alright, so we're back. We did a little more reading. Some of these pieces, like this piece here, slides in the back of the frame to keep it from tipping over when you let go of the handle. In our case, we're going to be kind of working in a defined space. We're not too worried about it. We're not going to put that on. These pieces here, this one goes down in here. This one goes on here like so. And I'll probably get flack for my opinion on this, but I do not like the works holders, if you will. Doing fine trim work, I like to be able to nudge into the blade just a little bit. So what I mean by that is when I make a mark on my board, and this is my good part, I start cutting over here, away from the mark, and I slowly slide the board into the blade and watch the blade chase up to the mark, and then I make my cut. And with stuff like this, it's a lot harder. If you're doing framing, you're getting early pressure treated wood or something, you may want to clamp this down. In my case, I'm not going to be using that, so I'm going to set that over here. And then there's also this piece, which if you're doing big crown molding or something would probably be beneficial. It bolts in there like this. The problem with this one is if you want to make an angled cut this way, you have to flip it up out of your way. So again, for what we're doing, I'm going to leave this off for now. I'll keep all these pieces. But let's go ahead and try a cut. Let's try a couple different cuts. We'll try a 90-degree cut just like that, with the good side of the trim back towards the blade. And then what we'll do is we'll probably stand it up and do a 45 or something like we were maybe doing baseboard. And then we'll switch the blade and we'll try it again. So this, remembering, is a stock blade. This is the first cut. You can tell we haven't used it yet. We'll set to the 0 indent. Come around to this side maybe a little bit if you can, you'll see another reason I don't like to use a stop. One thing you really want to do when you're cutting trim is you want to leave the motor down like I did until the blade stops spinning. But you notice how I've pulled the trim back away from the blade right there. Hold it back. Let me make another cut and I'll show you what I mean. So when I make my cut, you see how I slide it back away from the blade just before I let go of the trigger, because the electric brake in the motor makes it jump a little bit. And my finding is that a lot of times that jump can actually tear and make messes of the board. I was going to change that blade, but boy, I don't know. I'm telling you, I don't know if you guys can see that. There's absolutely zero tear out on that. And there's the other half of it. If I put it together on camera, you guys might not even see that it came apart. So let's go ahead and try something different. Let's loosen this one up and see if we can remember which way it goes. I'm going to go to 45. Nope. And I'm going to stand it up like this. Actually, I'm going to come around to the other side and let you guys come over here. So I'm going to hold that secure right there, and I'm going to make my cut. So there's another, I'll notice, like 0 tear out. So I think we're probably going to run with that blade. The trim we have for the bathroom is actually it's a plasticky type trim wrapped in a vinyl. It's fairly inexpensive at Lowe's, and it's all pre-finished. We don't have to finish it. So we're going to see how that blade does on that. One of the things I'd tell you is we should get a square and we should check this 45. You'll notice it's set at 45 over here, but we have some adjustment in all of this. So if you're doing super fine woodworking, you want to check all these things. You want to get a 45-degree gauge put in there. You want to set your stop for 45, and then you want to set your indicator to be perfect. But this indicator can be adjusted slightly, and then there's stops for 0 and 45. So when I loosen this, so this is something to be aware of, like when you're putting it back to 0, if you've been doing a lot of cutting, clean off that bolt. See that bolt right there is what stops the unit. There's a stop right here that sets on that bolt. So if there's a bunch of sawdust on there, it's not going to come all the way back to 0. We pull that back to 0, that's as far as it goes, and that should be 0 on the gauge. It should be exactly 90 degrees if we was to put a gauge block in there. So that's something to be aware of on, you know, if you're doing some really high-end trim. In our case, the room and stuff was probably out of square more than this saw ever will be. So the little variances, you know, the 1/4 of a degree or something, the saw may be off. We're not worried about. I'm sure it'll fit just fine. So we're pretty impressed. I gotta say, I mean, that is one of the cleanest cuts I've seen out of a miter saw, for as coarse a blade as that is. And I mean, if I just crammed it right through quickly, it would probably tear some. But if you take your time, you know, for $109 out the door, pretty darn impressive for a little versatile miter box that you could throw in the back seat of the car, floorboard of the truck, whatever, take it to a friend's house. Just a super versatile saw. So it was a good find on our part. If you guys have any questions on the Metabo or the 10-inch, you know, this 10-inch compound Metabo miter saw, model C10 FCG S. I don't know what the S stands for. Leave them down below. We'll do our best to answer them. We'll probably see, you'll probably see this in a few other videos. We're going to be repairing a beat up bathroom vanity. That's going to be our next home improvement video we're going to do. We have a 36-inch bathroom vanity that has a little bit of water damage from the ages, and if any of you guys have bought building material lately, you know it's horribly expensive. So we're going to renovate that and spray paint it and make it look good in this bathroom. And we'll bring you in and show you the bathroom when it's all painted. We're still in the process of painting things, so you know we don't want you to, we don't want to bore you with trying to video in a very small bathroom while we're painting it. So we'll show you when we're done. Anyways, I rambled too much. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe.